Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing some Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I think we're just going to be doing a short flight for this first one. We might be doing some landing challenges for the next one and that kind of thing. Just going to be screwing around with Microsoft Flight Simulator, maybe for a couple episodes and then switch to another game or something for this day. But this is going to be YouTube specific content, so it's not going to be on Twitch or anything like that. Let's see what we want to do. Maybe we want to do daytime. Over here. Do a short flight, say Denver to Colorado Springs, or from Sedona to Phoenix. How about like Calgary to Red Deer? How long would that take for if I was to depart from here for just for chance, you say? Go all the way down to say Missouri? Olds? Vale? 27 minutes. A long flight for this kind of thing. Just go to Highriver instead. Land there. Arrive here. 18-minute flight, that works for me. So we're going to start on the ground, and when you start on the ground, that means you start with the plane completely off. You have to turn it on yourself. No problem for me. I've done this many times. This is a fairly nice plane too. Well, start with the lights. I don't really care what order I do this stuff in. Real life, I would probably follow the book exactly the way you're supposed to do it. But it doesn't matter, really. Just turning on the lights, turning on the engine, turn on the fuel selector switch so that it automatically balances the fuel. Starter will automatically turn off. Go down here, turn this to feather 1. Over here. Watch this happen. Turn the stall stuff off. Turn the inertial separator pump thing on, just for shits and giggles. It says to turn it on start or whatever, so I do. Also says to keep it on during taxi and then during landing as well, but I don't know about that. It seems to freak out when you leave it on. I turn the park brake off because I seem to have a problem with that. Zero throttle there. Now we got to deal with the GPS. So you can just hit this button here, the soft key, or you can go over here and click this button here on the nav screen, touch screen. Just tap it 3 times until you get to GPS mode. As you can see, it just says GPS there on the PFD up the top there. I like to go to the MFD as well and kind of zoom in a little bit. And it's going to be centered to the plane, which is nice. And then in the nav, change the altimeter thing to 1200. So we're going to squawk 1200, which is the VFR code. So you could have just hit the VFR button, and it would have given you 1200 anyway. But let's just do that. 1200 sounds good to me. Enter 1200. Inertial separator can be turned off now. Turn the fan on. And the heat on. Because I'm cold. Then I like to go into the settings here and go into advanced settings and wind. Option 3, turn the wind on. And that's about all I do. So now we're able to call ATC and just ask for taxi clearance. Okay, so I go to acknowledge that before he freaks out. Then we don't have to talk to him until we get to the line right before the right before we take off. So we can put this down here. We can open it. So this we're gonna leave open just because we're gonna come over here to this. We're just gonna give it some backwards throttle. We're just gonna go to external view. We're gonna watch this happen. And we're going to control it with the rudder. We're gonna want to move it backwards. This plane you can go backwards with because it has reverse thrust. It has a possible way of doing reverse thrust. I don't know if you're allowed to use it or not in most airports that have pushback facility, but I would use it. I don't know if it's good for the plane. It might be good for the plane or not. I'm not sure. I'm not a plane technician, so I couldn't tell you. We're just going to put that down there for now. I do know that I don't think we're speeding yet. But we should slow down a little bit for this turn. I think this is the new part of the airport too as well. I think they just put this strip in. I remember there was like an ass ton of construction down by the airport for a long time. I've got all of the settings in the game maxed. I have bloom turned off. It's the only thing I have turned off. Because it gives like these really weird colors, like spots all over the screen. And I don't like that. I'm off the throttle and I'm kind of braking. Just tapping the brake. Using the rudder to turn. I'm back on the throttle a tiny bit. I'm not on the throttle a crap ton. As you can see, we barely even register speed up above me. You start registering speed once you go over 20. I think it's 20. Could be more than that. But I know that the top speed for taxi is usually 20 or 30 at most airports. And start slowing down now. So we're basically at the line. So we're just going to get to the line and we're going to hold short. And we're going to call up ATC.
Calgary Tower Dank 420 Heavy ready for departing straight out at runway 17 left. Dank 420 Heavy altimeter 29er.9er to wind 256 at tree. Departing straight out approved. Cleared for takeoff runway 17 left.
Okay, and our altimeter is already set.
Cleared for takeoff runway 17 left Dank 420 Heavy.
To the right altimeter setting. So we don't have to talk to ATC for a little while now. And we don't really need this anymore because I have my hotkey for that now. It was broken there because it was the same key as the one that ends the stream. So I had to change it. But I've changed it now. The one thing I didn't do is come over here and turn on the autopilot. So I want an altitude of, say, 5,000. It's pretty good because the floor is 3,600, so we'll be relatively high off the ground. We don't want to be super high off the ground. And we're probably going to use flight level control once we get in the air. We are going to want the yaw dampener and flight director on. And nav mode should be on as well. We're going to hit the autopilot button once we get in the air, and we're also going to put the flight level control on. It's going to bring us up to 5,000, and it's going to put us in line with our navigation that we've set in our active nav, which is our GPS. And our GPS is actually on the screen here. We just can't see it because we're over at the end of the runway, and our nav starts at the end of the runway. So let's get going. We have the right to take off. So I have clearance, so I'm not going to stop on the runway. I'm just going to roll forward, get myself lined up, and then I'm going to slowly increase the throttle. Just slightly using the rudder to keep the plane on the road. We could have lifted off a little while ago, but I like to get a little bit of speed on the ground before doing that. Now we're just lifting up the wheels. And now we're taking off. So now we can enable autopilot, flight level control, and it's just going to turn and raise the nose at the same time, get us in line with our navigation system target. So that's how to use autopilot to fly. You don't necessarily need to use autopilot. You can fly on the line yourself, which I find to be quite rewarding. It's nice and fun. I need to get down on the throttle a little bit because I'm starting to get some throttle warnings and some IT warnings, which is basically that the temperature is getting too hot. The throttle percentage is too high, so we're just going to raise the throttle a tiny, tiny bit. Get us right close to the line, but not over.
Tank 420 Heavy, leaving my airspace, frequency change approved.
So we got to accept this frequency change.
Calgary Tower Tank 420 Heavy, frequency change.
We're not going to request transition or nothing. We're going to go to... we'll select the airport once we get closer. It's the Highriver one. I don't see it on here. So we'll just wait until we get closer and it'll be right up on the availability there. Let's get outside the plane and take a look around. There's a city over there in the distance. I know we didn't really get up close or anything like that, but we're kind of on a schedule. Next flight, maybe we'll go around and fly around the city. Maybe we'll go to like a bigger city or something like that and fly around. Getting a nice solid 60 frames out here, which is nice. I tried to film this episode a couple minutes ago, and I was getting like 15 frames. I restarted the game, and now I'm getting 60 frames flat, so... And I was kind of wondering, because my computer's kind of nuts. We're going 234. I think that's knots. Yeah, that is knots. The real airspeed is 259 because of the way that speed works relative to the air. The air gets thinner the higher you go, which means the faster you're actually going. But your indicated airspeed is going to be different than the real airspeed because of that fact. So the indicated airspeed is 234, but the actual airspeed is 259. And we're going flat out. Except for like going over throttle like that. Like we were just doing just now. You notice there was a little bit of a red that's going on there. A red flash up in the middle PFD. The map display, the MFD as they call it. I'm just easing off the throttle a little bit to alleviate that. The autopilot will do everything for you except for your throttle and your brakes and all that stuff. And it's the same thing with like a 747. 747 will do your altitude and your navigation, all the turns and stuff for you, but it won't do your throttle and it won't do your brake. There is an auto brake in the 747 that you have to set a specific way in order for it to work. It's pretty kick-ass. I really like this plane, though. This plane is nice. I think it seats 6. What can I do with my camera controls? Is there anything? Any kind of cool views I can get in the last 16 kilometers? Pretty cool. You get like the heat waves off the side of the plane. Get to see all the ground and stuff underneath. Oh shit. That's fucking funny. Can I co-pilot seat? Oh nice. We can go in the co-pilot seat. You want to land in the co-pilot seat? I've never done that before. Kind of feels weird over here. I've always flown in the left side. Didn't know you could do this. Oh, we're quite close. Actually, we should get the tower out and call them. Highriver. Landing. We'll do 15, I guess. Full stop. Announce position.
Charlie Echo November for traffic dank 420 heavy 4 miles northeast 5,000 feet inbound.
And we'll shut off this, and we'll go down a little bit. I just let off the throttle a little bit too much. If you let off the throttle past a certain percentage, it tells you to put out the landing gear. We'll put the landing gear down once it allows us to do so. Yeah, there we go. We'll give it some flaps, and we'll give it some, what do you call it, trim. And we're gonna do a quick turnaround here. It's only me in the plane, so I don't have to worry about upsetting anybody by turning a little bit too sharply. You're only supposed to turn up until like the second notch there. Like this. This is about as far as you should turn. But we turned a little bit further than that. How about that? Why not? Because we can. We're going a little bit too fast, but we're going to be slowing down here. It feels weird being on this side of the plane, let me tell you. Doesn't it? We're going to need to add more trim. And all the flaps. And yeah, we want to stay, you know, somewhere between 80 and 90. Now we're going too slow. Because we were trying to gain altitude there. Now that we have the altitude, we're going to be going a little bit too fast. So I'm going to get off the throttle now. Because it's a turbo plane. I'm just kind of lifting up a little bit just to get some extra altitude. I've never landed on the passenger side, so we might die. Just saying. Never done it. Don't know how bad it is. Just gonna keep adding a little bit more. Because we're reducing the speed a little bit. Because we're gonna be going in a downward direction now. I just give it a little bit more trim. So that I don't have to keep pulling back on the stick really hard. There's lots of trim to go around. And we are getting there. I haven't learned the proper landing pattern yet. That's why I have these little gates put up, the little blue gates. I know that it's a big donut around where the airport is, but it's very nice to have them so that I know how wide the loop is supposed to be. Okay, so now just going to reduce our speed a tiny bit. And we're going to add more what do you call it? Trim. We should probably get on the horn on ATC and announce final.
November, 4 traffic tank 420 heavy is on final runway 15 to land.
Should be good. Just gonna add more trim. Just because we're going lower speed here. That wasn't so bad. Okay. So now I need to... I don't think any planes are going to be coming on this, so let's slow down. We'll go to MFD. We'll zoom in. I think our parking spot's kind of like here. To be perfectly honest with you. Just gonna drive on the grass a little bit. Yeah, it's right there. And we're here. So on bigger airports, you can request, you have to talk to ground, and ground will tell you where you're going to taxi and which taxiways to take and where your spot is and that kind of stuff. And there'll be a little box for where your spot is and a little line showing you where to go. I don't want to die this truck, so I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go around him. Couple more trucks sitting around. Let's go to external view. I think our parking spot was supposed to be right on the other side of this plane here. We're just going to go over this grass here. We're going to park right next to the other plane that's here. All right. So let's put the park brake on. I know that's going to make a horrible sound, but we're going to switch cameras back to the pilot seat. And actually, let's turn this off. Okay, so I'm going to do this in stupidest order possible, just for fun. Turn all that stuff off. That goes off. We didn't turn the CB light on. Sadness. We don't need to turn any of the autopilot stuff off. That just turns off when all the power comes off. Turn all these off. Turn that off. That all we can leave. Turn that back to manual. Turn that off. And we'll just pull the bar down. And we gotta shut off the engine. So we'll put it in feather for a few minutes. And we'll shut it off. Oh. Park brake. The park brake. Yeah, that's right. I forgot once you put it in feather, it kind of poofs you a little bit. If you were wondering what plane that is, that's the Daher TBM 930. And it was a 13-minute flight. Nice. Okay, cool. I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos and you want to support me, subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below. And also follow me at my Twitch at twitch.tv/Caledonius. Till next time, see you later.